I'm Tim Hooper.
And I'm Mike Gandolfo.
And this is The Trust Factor,
where high touch
plus high tech
multiplied by high trust
equals the real estate professional's formula for success. Boom. Hey, guys. Welcome back to The Trust Factor. He's Mike Gandolfo. I'm Tim Hooper. And Mike, you are heading to a large stage. I'm so pumped up by your topic. And just as we're kind of unpacking what you're going to be bringing to all these professionals, I was like, dude, we got to juice the trust factor.
Do you want to know what's really
amazing stuff?
Do you know what's really a little like probably from a stress standpoint about this going to this conference that I'm going to be speaking at is that the organizer has been trying to get me to come down and speak at this thing for a long time. And it was always during Derby week. And I'm like, man, you do not understand. Like, I cannot go anywhere Derby week. It is not.
In case you guys don't know yet, Mike is Mr. Derby. He's like one of the charter members. Like
I'm overly involved with this freaking 2-minute horse race. I'm actually missing something to even go down for this thing. But he's like, I rescheduled the conference so you can be there. I was like, oh my gosh, man.
Yeah.
So
no pressure.
No pressure on that one at all, right? So yeah, I'll tell you, man, it's good.
It might, in case anyone was wondering there as we started, which you probably weren't, but we have like this 20-second opener. And as I told Mike I was going to kick the podcast off, and I looked down at my coffee cup. I'm at a hotel, and I was like, it's empty. So I ran out and grabbed some coffee real quick. So that's where I was going. Anyway, so now we're good. We can talk. But Mike, you have something, I think, number one, that you shouldn't have any pressure on you because just the nugget of wisdom you're going to bring is going to be so valuable. And everyone's going to lean in. I already leaned in, and you just 30 seconds told me about it. But it's this optimizing your sphere.
Yeah.
And I think sphere marketing is completely, in so many arenas that I coach, it's really misunderstood. Like sphere optimize your spheres are great. That's your line. But like sphere marketing.
It's totally misunderstood, by the way.
And I feel like there are some things that absolutely have changed with technology, but have never and will never change with touch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so funny, by the way. Well, I mean, I think what's amazing to me is if we go back through the last 20 years in real estate and we look where people's businesses come from, there hasn't, even though we have had billions of dollars poured into real estate technologies and real estate platforms, but the data really hasn't changed much. Like the number of people who still are choosing their agent based off a referral or repeat business is like, depending on what you see. I know I just sent you a video where the guy quoted like a NAR study that said it was like 90%. I think that's probably a little high, but I don't think 70% is high, and
no,
the real
for sure 70, 90 might be a little high, but if you land anywhere in the middle, you're gonna be okay.
I'm 100. So so at the end of the day, like I've been living and breathing this for a long time. And I think it goes back to like when I got into the real estate business and realizing that this was a strategy, but it was modeled by my grandfather. So my grandfather had one of the original Lincoln Mercury dealerships. So I remember when Lincoln Mercury turned 50 and I got to go to Boston and ride in a limousine with Edsel Ford and here we were because he was my grandfather was one of 3 of the original car dealerships that was left. It's no longer in business now.
Wow.
But Ford did a study on my grandfather based off the fact that he was not spending the same money on traditional advertising, which I've heard a quote that traditional advertising is the penalty you pay for being unremarkable.
Wow. Can you say one?
Traditional advertising is the penalty you pay for being unremarkable.
For being unremarkable. Wow.
And this is an important piece to remember, because I think as we're going into this, these tech spaces of a lot of conveyor belt style real estate of like, I'm going to get you on the conveyor belt and we're going to get you through the process. Like they're going to serve you, and they're going to serve the need at the most basic level. And if there's no problems, it's going to go smooth, and you're going to feel like, okay, well, I went through the buying process and I bought a house, but they're never going to be able to go past just meeting the need. And they're never, and this is where like for me, if you optimize your sphere, you're at such an advantage over these companies that are relying so heavily on technology, because now you're the one, and Will Gadar talks about it. I know this is the second episode straight that I've talked about Will Gadar on Unreasonable Hospitality, talks about service is black and white. That's what that you just did. You come in, you made your order, you got your food, you've paid your bill, you left. Hospitality is color. We're in a situation where if you optimize your sphere, you can add color to the transaction, and now you can go from being unremarkable and having to pay traditional advertising to being absolutely remarkable for good things, because you can be remarkable for bad things. Be absolutely remarkable by adding this incredible experience and unlocking this repeat and referral business, which is actually like the pool of buyers out there is, because what you just mentioned about the sphere being misunderstood, the pool of buyers out there for your sphere, I guarantee you, is large enough to give you all the business that you could possibly want. But the reality of what happens, and I'll ask you the question that I asked you before, is that people look at their sphere. The number in your sphere, by the way, should be somewhere between 100 to 250 names. You cannot, it's scientifically proven. I can't remember what the guy's name is, that
Dunbar.
Dunbar's number.
Sam Trimble. He goes there all the time.
You cannot have relationships like of depth with more than 250 people at a time. So you got this 100 and 250 person, like living, breathing, with some people leaving the group and some people coming into the group, and knowing the fact that you and I like some biblical things. It's almost like if some people get their sphere and they want to hold on to their sphere, and there's nothing coming in, there's nothing coming out, so you become the Dead Sea. And I've never been to the Dead Sea, but I've been to the Salt Lake City, and it stinks. Right, because it's stagnant and nothing can thrive in that environment, right? Versus the Sea of Galilee, which is just up the river, and you got things flowing in and flowing out, and it's lush and beautiful and whatever else. Because people are going to flow in and flow out of who's in that 100 to 250.
And you need that.
100% you need it, because really what happens is you got your, and let's just say 200. Well, guess what, Tim? 96% of the people in that sphere of 200 aren't going to be moving. And the way that you've been working your sphere over for that 200, you've set them up on some automatic mailer. Maybe you send them a calendar at the holidays. Maybe they get like some sort of like generated birthday message or whatever else. But you've automated all this stuff to basically remind your sphere that you're in business. But you don't do anything that actually demonstrates your character, your competence, that demonstrates that you actually have a care for the person that's there. So all you're doing is reminding the person that you're in business, and you're actually missing the boat. So because you do that, you're going to convert. If you have 200 people, 96% of them are going to move, 4% of them are. Maybe some people are going to buy and sell some. So let's just say there's 8 to 12 transactions in your 200 that are in your sphere. And you're going to probably get a third of those, because, you don't take into account that someone's cousin became a realtor. You don't take into account that the PTO mom who they've been talking with for the last school year, who's also a realtor, is intricately entwined in their lives, and she's present when they actually have a need. You don't take into consideration the fact that Tim Hooper is taking all your garbage mail and just throwing it straight in the trash, and basically unsubscribe from all your emails. So, real example there, by the way. You don't take into consideration all that stuff. So you're only really going to get, you might get 3 to, if you're really good at it, and you have you might get 6, 3 of 6 out of that are in your sphere. But here's the key. like, it doesn't really matter if your sphere moves or doesn't move. If you've got people that you care about, who care about you, who are willing to be an advocate for your business, well, now you're tapping into your sphere. So the 200 goes to another 200, which means you have influence over 40,000 people. Right now, 4% of 40,000, if I'm doing my math real quick, is like 1,600 names. So maybe there's somewhere between 1,600 and 2,000 deals that your sphere has influence over. You think you can get your 30? Like,
right.
The pool, and now because of how you work, you can compound, you can scale, you can become profitable, and your cost per lead is as cheap as it possibly can be. And it is unbelievable that people can't think past the echo effect of their sphere and understand that it's not about just the people you influence, but can you influence those people to influence their people and train them how to recognize what's a good connection for you and train them on how to connect you.
Yeah. And you know how many people are afraid to ask their sphere for what you just said? Hey, Mike, could you help me out with something?
Sure.
I recognize that not everybody I work with or talk with understands who makes a good fit, or I've not made it clear to you like who makes a good fit. Would it be okay if I just shared like who I'm looking to work with?
Yeah.
And when you come across that person, you remember what, Mike, we've known each other a long time. So just when you come across this person, if you could just think of like, just connect them, a text message or whatever, and just put in a good word. Here's who that is. And Mike, would you help me? Could you be eyes and ears for me on that? By the way, when are we going out to the golf thing again or whatever? Right.
Yeah.
But it's like, there's somebody in your sphere who you've just not had that. But can I share real quick? I think a lot of times in real estate, what I find as I'm working in sales coaching is we're not thinking about it from the planting seeds perspective and like watering that seed and like in your heart, but it's not about you. It's not about you sending me a deal. I think we get tripped up by thinking our sphere is Mike's going to send me a deal. Mike's going to think, we assume, or we're going to think in our head, every time I come up or come around, Mike's going to think that I'm coming to him for a deal. Mike, actually, somebody said, I use this a lot. I think I used it last spot, but you did Will Guidero 2 times in a row. So somebody said, sell slow to close fast. And somebody also said that people hate being sold, but they love to buy.
Mm-hmm.
Just understand that if you are in a relationship with somebody and you're checking in on them about them and their life, not just about like, are you moving? Is there any thing happening real estate wise? But you're checking in. You're in real estate. You've made that clear. One of the best ways to make it clear that you want to work with somebody is like, Mike, I love working with people like you. Who like you do you know? Here's who I'm looking for. Mike, have I ever like clarified how I like to connect with people or to make it easy on you? Like when you come across that person? And Mike's like, no, you haven't. You set that up. Mike's not only going to be on the lookout for people, he's also going to remember you from this standpoint, but you're not like pushy on him. You're not always checking in with him for a deal. So keep going, man. But I just think, I think
well, you're on the right track. You're dancing around it.
Focused. Yeah, we're so focused on, I need something from you. I need a deal from you, as opposed to Mike is a fertile garden that I can plant seeds in because he's in my sphere. So go ahead.
You mean people who are looking to take instead of being a go-giver? So this is the book, guys. Like if you're worried about anything like this, like there's 2 books, the Go-Giver and the Bible, because the Bible will tell you
remarkable. Right there.
How to become remarkable. But at the end, the reality of it is that you're dancing around some of the words to say and whatever else. But like you and I, first off, whenever I make let me back up. I remember getting the phone calls from the financial planner, the young kid who just became a financial planner, and he went to the major organization that really just wants to get his book of business, knowing that kid's not going to make it a year. And they sit down and give you, can I give you the free financial plan or assessment or whatever else? Like we've all had this person come to us, right? And then what are they doing at the end? It's like, well, I need 3 names right now of who's going to be able to, boom, boom, boom. And they're like, they're taught not to lead there for the 3 names. That is not what I am talking about. I am talking about leading with value, serving the person. And when the opportunity presents itself, to make sure that you finish the nail, right? I'm talking about giving, serving. And then when you get the opportunity that you're going to be out there, and when you're doing that, you're demonstrating your competence, you're demonstrating your character, you're demonstrating your consistency. And you realize the fact, by the way, Tim, because the other thing that people assume is that, well, Tim told me one time that he would refer me. So Tim's waking up every morning like, I got to go find Mike a client. Well, you have to stay constantly in touch and in connection with these people. You got to constantly serve these people.
And I think that you just said it, when the opportunity presents itself. And I love that you said finish the nail.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So that's a man's man right there. Finish the nail. But here's the deal. Ask yourself that question, because it's not about, oh, I need to go optimize my sphere. I'm going to send out a blast email to all my 150 to ask them to refer me to somebody. No. It is a one-on-one connection of, Mike, what are you and Chrissy in your lives right now? Where's it just showing up? Like, where are you guys at? What's going on? And you listen well, and you listen deeper, and you decide, I'm going to listen deeper than anybody ever listens to Mike. And then all of a sudden you recognize, wait, he's doing that. That's important to him. I got a connection. I got somebody who's interested in that. And then I just connect Mike, my client. Now, I'm the real estate agent, right? I did nothing but I just connected Mike with somebody who's going to help him with his derby dreams. And then a month later, I'm checking, or a week later, 2 weeks later, again, my sphere, probably every month, some way checking in with some. But anyway, I'm checking back in. Hey, did you and Jason ever connect? Oh, Jason's the bomb, whatever. He's great, isn't he? He's great, isn't he? You're just driving that. And then all of a sudden it's like, dude, I love connecting with people like that. And if ever I bet you at Derby, you get a lot of people moving in, asking you about the Derby, whatever. When somebody's moving to Louisville, like, I do real estate, Mike, and I don't ask this all the time, but I just want to, dude, I appreciate referrals. But I don't work with everybody. I work with people who really care about the X, Y, and Z. Could you refer? That's when, if you're going to go ask that and you don't feel like, oh, I don't have the credential with Mike to ask that, well, you probably don't then. You probably need to back up and work your sphere better, add value, be a go-giver. So there is a finesse to asking. But are you remarkable? Have you become remarkable by being a go-giver? But have you actually asked? Because here's what I work with professionals who have never even asked the question. They are remarkable. They are go-givers, but they've not said, hey, could you help me? I'm working to grow my business this year, and I'm looking for people like you to work with.
So let's talk about how to do that. I think that's the best way for it. I know we were going to get to these, like you were going to talk about what you think people have. Let me ask you the question that I was going to ask you, and then we're going to get into how we do all stuff. So when you're going around talking, what are the 3 biggest hangups you hear from people telling you why they don't work their sphere better?
All right. We already talked about paying for leads, lead generation. I hear so much about, where do I get good leads? Do you have free software I could go find leads? I'm like, CoreLogic, MMI, agent, like, go get all of that. That's fine. But you're going to literally be, this is not even, just divorce your mindset from that just for a second. This is your 150 Dunbar number right here. These are your people in your life. That's who we're talking about today.
Which, by the way, is enough business. There's enough business in your sphere.
But because we don't do this well,
correct?
Because we're living in fear,
correct?
Which we're going to unpack. Then we go over here because we think there's all this FOMO of all this lead generation. Here's lead generation. You're 150, and the top 3 reasons I believe professionals don't work this 150 well.
By the way, I sent you the video yesterday. I'm not even sure if you watched it or not, but it's funny. We're inundated with all these different lead generation things for you to buy, whatever else, because people can't sell you the person that you already know. Like, you're being sold to, right? They're like, the FOMO's existing because, hey, buy this, buy that, because they can't sell you the fact that Tim Hooper, and Tim Hooper might introduce you to some people.
Yeah. So there's one big fear, Mike, I didn't really think about earlier, but I think this is, if you were to keep asking the why question, why, it would get down to this emotional response. I know Mike well. Mike knows me well. And working with him, if something goes wrong, might mess that up. Okay. And that gets into the fear of family and friends. Some people won't work their sphere because listen, we play soccer, our kids play soccer, and I don't want every time we come into the soccer field, he's thinking like, oh, Tim's going to try to sell me on real estate. So we have this underlying fear. But I think that fear stems from if I end up working with Mike and it goes wrong, we might never speak again.
So we got the two fears here that I'm hearing. The first fear, if you watch Groundhog Day, you got like the guy was his name Ned, who meets the guy who's always trying to sell Bill Murray insurance, who's like knows like, oh, here comes Ned, he's gonna ask sell me insurance again. And you got the fear of like, well, what happens if something goes wrong? Well, so I'm gonna confront both those individually. Number one, this may be arrogant, but I know and you and I have talked about this a lot, the level of skill level, the level of professionalism, the level of everything else that's happening out there with the traditional agent. I know what happens to the agents who are chasing business and how much time they actually have to serve the lead. And I know I'm uniquely positioned to serve that person in front of me at a level that honestly, because you know where I live religiously, that if I don't put myself out there, I am sinning by not making myself available to share my gifts with someone who needs them the most. If I'm giving permission to allow that person to have a poor experience, a higher likelihood of having a poor experience, because I'm afraid for that personal relationship, where I should want to make sure that I take care of that person. And that doesn't mean I cut my commission. The best man at my wedding paid me a full commission. That I serve that person at the deepest level. Right. And because they're not going to get that anywhere else. Right. So, I think that you have to wrap yourself around. First off, you've got to invest in yourself to be the best and to know what that is.
There it is. Yep.
And then you have the confidence of saying, you know what, like, I'm so happy that I get to show up for the people that I love at one of the toughest moments in their life that they know they can count on me.
That is subconscious belief coming up right there.
Right.
I am worthy. I have invested in me. I am investing so that I can serve better. I am the professional that they need. I am their friend and I can be their professional. Here's the thing, baby, what if I fall? Oh, but baby, what if you soar? We've all seen the Dove chocolate, right? It's like, that's where we're at. It's like the fear of failure. Sometimes we have a fear of success. What does success look like? What if he sees that he's paying me $24,000 in commission? Like, some of that's real there too, but I think sometimes it's just, I don't want to mess this up. So friends and family and this whole like MLM,
well, the messing up thing's a totally different deal though, right? Sorry.
Correct. There's this fear of like, yes, I'm going to sell you every time I see you. That's the fear. And then I think there's a deeper fear, underlying fear of, well, what if we actually do get into a working posture and mess it up? Yes. So I do think that they're both, but it stems from this friends and family I want to keep status quo with. And you know what that is? It's actually a desire to control the outcome, which there's this quote that says the outcome is never your responsibility. The obedience is. And what Mike just shared was his level, his high standard of obedience is, I've been gifted, I've been called, and my obedience is to show up to serve in one of the most stressful times of their life.
And then beyond that, though, like I'll go back to like the worst transaction I ever had. Like one of the guy who I did the horse racing podcast with for years, one of my very best friends ended up being homeless for a week with his 4 kids because of this situation. But the reality of it is when your ability to get someone through a difficult situation is actually where the gold is. Like, you as a real estate professional, we've got to remember that if transactions didn't have challenges, we would not have a job. So how you show up when things suck and they're tough, and me and my other grown man friend are in this office where I am right now crying because of the situation, but I'm crying with him. I'm in the foxhole with him. I have empathy for him. We're working and we're trying to figure out every single thing we can do that's within our control. And we're doing all these things. We're not over owning, but we're right there with him, and we're going through the situation. I mean, it wasn't our fault, but things went terribly wrong. That and if not to get too far in the details, but basically, my buddy had to make a choice of him and his 4 kids being homeless and couch surfing for a week, or finding a hotel, or this lady who was buying the house that they were selling was going to basically give birth and not have a house to take this baby to. And this other side, that's people were like, yeah, we're just not going to move out. I mean, we've already moved out, but we're not going to finalize moving out of the house. And we're just, we don't really care what your situation is. And, so it was this whole mess. It was a little more complicated than that. But at the same time, like, number one, he's still one of my best friends today. Number two, they see how hard you actually work and why you get paid on how you handle these challenges. Like the challenges are a blessing.
And number three, every year when they come and read the birth of Jesus Christ was on this wise.
Right.
When Mary and Joseph go to the inn and he says there's no room, his kids and him can always say, you know what? We made room in our inn.
You know what? You know what it really did though?
For this lady who had this baby. Wow.
It's so interesting you said that, because after the fact of him getting into this house, by the way, which has been now it's a funny story, and the house has been such an incredible financial instrument for them to build wealth that they're in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, because I'm still showing up for him 6 years down the road or whatever it is. But it opened up some space for that guy to be able to share some things with me that he's had trouble sharing with other people. So I could actually be there for him in a deeper way. Right. And
come on.
We get these walls, and our dreams lie on the other side of our problems. If we can work through our problems, if we can just say, hey, I can, if I can push through that stuff of uncomfortableness, there's magic on the other side of that wall, man. There's magic on the other side of that wall.
Remarkable. It's called becoming remarkable, man. You got to be willing to go there. And that's, I think, that there's fear. Go there. Like, you don't need to be obnoxious. Nobody needs to feel pitched. People hate being sold. Just help them to show up in their life. They know what you're doing. Earn the right to ask. Learn when to ask. What's the right time? But it pumps so much value. If you pump enough value, Mike, here's my belief. Okay, you want to know for some rare air? This is like Learjet space. This isn't with all the other commercial liners. This is Learjet space. You want to know what a rare air is? You pump so much intentional, deep value into your sphere that they're begging you, how can I help you? How can I help your business succeed? Mike, wow. Like, Mike, you've helped restore our family. Dude, how can we ever repay you? And you're like, funny you should ask. I don't require much. I just love being in your life, man. But listen, if you know of anybody moving to town or a family member moving out and I can help them, you know how I care for you. I'll do the same for them. That's the most organic. If you're taking care of your sphere well, that's going to happen.
Well, I think that was one of the other things you were going to say is people don't know what to say, right? So,
and in twofold, again, kind of a two-pronger here. People don't know what to say in marketing, so we just opt into the broker's stuff, which yes goes to my spam and gets just deleted. But most people spam, by the way. Google sorts that out for them. It's coming from a constant contact. Boom, it goes into the little promotions or updates folder. They never see it. So we don't know what to say on our marketing, but then yes, we don't know what to say when we are brushing shoulders up against each other at the soccer field. So it's like, what do I say? It's like, so that's the number two thing. There's like this fear over here, but then there's like, what do I say in my marketing or in my conversation around real estate? You know what I mean?
Hey, by the way, Tim, have I poured into you?
1,000%.
Have I asked you recently for a referral?
You have no.
Yesterday, I asked you for a referral. You didn't even recognize I asked you for a referral, and you willingly referred me to the person that I need to be connected with.
Okay, true.
Yeah. So
true. Touche. I actually voice memoed a connection
Yes,
to you. I
a
didn't
beautiful
realize. Yes.
connection.
Okay. Yes.
So
Okay.
at the end of the day, you can get so good at asking for business that makes the person feel so elevated that asking for the referrals, not, it's like the fun part. It's the easy part. And where we kind of
correct. And that's, I think, keep going. That I got tickled. Keep going.
well, I think one of the things that we fall into these traps is vague. You know, if you ever know someone who's buying or selling, I'd love to work with them. If you know anybody that can help out, you know, that doesn't trigger any kind of thought whatsoever. And so there's 3 asks that I think are really, really important in real estate. Number 1, when you're sitting down for the initial consultation and you're laying out your process and your plan, and someone's like, man, this is awesome. But if you do it the right way, you're going to get, I've never had it explained to me this way before. This is fantastic. It's like, well, I want to let you know that I can deliver this level of service because I'm not chasing leads. I pour myself into serving you at the highest level possible. And in return, I kind of rely on you to connect me with who my next lead is. And actually, I'm going to do such a great job for you that you're going to refer me twice before we close. And I set a goal. Now I want to be very clear. That's a conversation I'm having during the buyer consultation or during the listing consultation. That's the only time we're going to mention something like that. That's going to be that forward. But I led with serving them, right? Yeah.
So when you ask for referrals, there's an old rule in sales, and I learned this in the automotive space. So it had nothing to do with real estate, but it was when it comes to referrals, ask early and ask often.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The often point, I think, gets misconstrued a bit, but the ask early, what you just shared, in any sale, I don't care what industry you're in, if you have worked your process to be all about the consumer and all about the leading them and guiding and being in value adding and sharing exactly what this and your trust, like trust is everything, you can boldly say that. You can say my quality guarantee. So this is when we're proposing like a request for quotation would come in, and we say, listen, so our process looks like this, that, and the other, and we're going to show up better than you've ever seen a company show up because we know that during this period there are 3 other engineers in this plant that you're going to say, oh my gosh, you have to know this company. So that's how we would go about it. Because our goal was we wanted this engineer to have 3 more requests for quotations come into us before we ever got to purchase order, like him signing on the bottom line for us. So you just basically repeated the same thing in real estate, and that's during your buyer agent consultation.
Well, and actually it should have been, and I'll do your version of what you just did a little bit later in the process. But what the part I didn't leave out, I should have said, you know, hey Tim, you know how Valerie connected us? And I would have, and you know, it's like, that is like, I'll put them in the situation, like where they felt.
So basically Valerie told me about you, and I need you to do that.
Yes. I need you. I'm relying on that. You're going to like, I'm going to pour myself into serving you and helping you. But I need you to realize that, like, for me to continue to deliver this kind of service, that, you know, I need you to be on the lookout who I'm going to be working with next. Now, as we're going through the process and we're going through buying, we're going through listing, and we have these conversations, and people say thank you and whatever else as we go, because it will happen several times when you actually serve the person. I mean, just weird scenarios here, but the idea here is then to be like, hey, I love this. You used this language earlier. I love working with great people like you. And as you're going through this process of moving, I know you're talking about it with your friends and family, and you're talking about it at work, and you're undoubtedly going to be having a conversation where someone else is thinking about buying or selling a house. And I just need you to know that that's a great connection for me. And the best thing you can do, you know, I appreciate if you know, I know that, you know, it's easy to hand out my business card or just give them my contact info, but it's always a little awkward for someone to reach out to someone they don't know. If you could remove that awkwardness and introduce us on a text message, that would be amazing. Because now it's like, I asked them to do that so they could remove, like they could actually remove the awkwardness. Right. And that's real easy for them to do, and their reticular activators up, all that stuff. I'm starting to plant the seeds for the reticular activator, because my most prime time to get a referral is while I'm working with someone to a year past them living in the house.
Yep.
Then the other way that I'm going to do it, when we're in conversation with people who are in our sphere, who are not in transaction, we do not have past clients. We have clients, and we have people because they don't stop being our client, no matter what the law says. I'm going to go through, and I'm going to just be like, hey, Tim, how's work? What's going on? I'm using the Ford questions, right? I'm going to ask about family. I'm asking about occupation. I'm asking about their recreation. And if I really am at a high level, I can ask about their dreams. And they're undoubtedly going to ask me about work. And if I'm smart, I'm thinking about, okay, Tim, all right, here I'm talking to Tim, and I know Tim's parents are probably starting to age out a little bit. It's like, oh man, things are great. Actually, we just helped these really good friends of ours whose mother had to downsize out of a house or had to move into an assisted living home, and it was just such a great experience to be there and know that we had this whole group of people, from junk removal to to come in and pour into this family, and we got them multiple offers and sold their house for more than what they were asking for. It was such an awesome experience. And so Tim's like loving hearing a story about my work, right? And by the way, I didn't sit there and say, oh, things are crazy, things are busy, I'm just blah blah blah, because they don't want to make you even more nuts.
That's a whole other podcast, but yeah, keep going.
I poured into like, this is an amazing experience of a client that we recently served. It doesn't matter how recently it was. And now it's like, hey, Tim, like, do you know, like, if you have any friends, because it's not about Tim, if you got any friends who are going through a similar situation with some aging parents, that's a really good connection for me, where I might be able to really help them out.
I like how you say that's a really good connection for me, because I think sometimes we use our speak to our sphere, like referral or lead or whatever, and that doesn't really resonate.
No, when you tell referrals to someone here in Louisville, Kentucky, it's like I got referred to a different physician, or my kid is going to in-school suspension. It got referred to the principal's office.
Yeah, that makes a good connection for me.
That's a great connection for me, Tim.
Yeah.
And if you don't mind introducing us to the person, I might really be able to help that person out and give them some resources and some thoughts. I'm not even talking about selling their house to them. Right. Yep. And by the way, when I talk to that person, I'm going to give a whole ton of stuff away and help them out for free with a whole lot of things, because I'm taking the trust level that just happened and I'm elevating that trust a little bit higher, and I'm going to convert that 90% of the time into a deal.
There it is.
And the other 10% are probably just because the person's not ready yet. If I'm being real, like, I'm not losing it.
Yeah.
So
be remarkable. Let your goal be go add a ton of value, earn a new conversation, and let that person, even the person whose cousin is getting into real estate, who's going to do real estate for them, that person still has people in their Dunbar. They have 150, right? So even that person who won't give you the deal because their cousin is, they have 150 who they won't trust their cousin with, because they like, here's the thing, right?
I got to use my cousin. Yeah.
It's my cousin. He's just starting out. I'll give him a shot. And if it goes bad, I know it might go bad, but I'm not going to refer my people to my cousin. So I'm going to refer my people to Mike, who I'm another podcast, but we will talk about how you don't become cynical when you see your sphere person closing with another real estate agent, because I guarantee you have to work through that. You've built a resilience around that. I see a lot of people become cynical and they take it as failure. They take it personally. And so we got to talk about mindset at some point, but let's move. So you have transaction, like you had during, I don't like to say transaction, during like the opening of the process, you're asking for a referral. Then you're talking about who makes a good connection as you're talking about work. So the Ford, acronym. What then third? What in your mind? What's the third? I think you said there were 3 prongs.
No, the third one was the one during the process. I had the one for the initial consultation. Then I had the one during the process, and then the third one's actually like once they're not actually in transaction, but they're in the sphere, and I'm checking in. And man, can you imagine too? Because when you start getting deeper with these people, and they're telling you they're talking about what they're doing for fun and the trips they're taking and what their dreams are, and now you're in a position where you can deliver for that person's dream, right? Like, so, well, what does that have to do with real estate? If I sent them a guide, something that really helped me out about traveling to Italy, right? Well, it just shows I heard you, I saw you, I value you, and like this helped me out. I'm going to help you out, and I'm just intertwining myself in. And by the way, it creates a common thing for me too, because I'm going to want to hear about their Italy trip, right? And now I'm just making sure that relationships I'm built on deeper things than that's just being a real estate thing, a real estate guy. So like one of my best people yesterday, his youngest son just is going to go to the University of Kentucky. Well, this guy's like a lifelong University of Louisville fan. And so I was able just to text him and send him the picture of like, I guess you're going to be wearing blue now instead of red. Yeah. And, it was a lot of fun. It's just fun stuff because you're involved in these people's lives.
Right.
And, and you still have to remind them, you still have to occasionally remind them that, hey, I want to work with great people just like you, and, but you can do it in a very nonchalant way. And it's going to be way more effective than saying, hey, if you know anyone who's thinking about buying or selling, because you've got to paint a picture in their head for them to have name comes up as you're painting. Like if I said, who do you know who has aging parents? You probably thought, did you end up thinking of some people in your head?
Oh, right away. But I love that you went with the story. So when I asked you like, what's going on, or you asked me what was going on in my work, I'm like, so how are things with you? It's like, dude, work's great. Like we just helped this elderly family. Like when you go to a story, if you could share, and that's the thing is, even with like our social media, I tell people, I'm like, listen, the whole social media playbook, by the way, that most real estate agents are operating on is 10 years old. It's an old playbook. We'll talk about that in another podcast. But I'm like, the number one thing you could be doing right now with all the AI generated garbage is you could actually take your phone out and just capture a behind the scenes at the next closing you're at and go out to your car and tell the story. Just get on video, just listen, we just helped a new family. They just moved here. Their kids are going to college, blah, 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 blah. Tell a story because your sphere, you know what people want in the first few seconds of a social media post?
Connection.
They want to hear their name.
Oh yeah. Well, that's
they want to hear they want to hear their name. So when you say, I just helped this great friend of mine, his parents are aging. I'm watching your channel and I'm like, oh, I have aging parents. I just heard my name. You just you rang my bell. Right. So stories are powerful. That's a whole nother podcast too. But man, this has been so optimizing your sphere. If you don't mind, the last thing I think, because we talked about like friends and family and the fear of like not disrupting that. And then the fear of like, what if we do get into it and something goes wrong? Then we talked about like not knowing what to say, whether that's in the conversation or like on social media or in my email marketing. And I would say just start sharing more stories. But the third top thing I think of not optimizing your sphere, and this can be quick, but I think we get busy in our, and sometimes we just get busy in our head.
Not if you
a
don't
lot of times
lead
we're just scattered. Sometimes we're just scattered and busy up here. But I do believe that what worked so well, or somebody said it works so well, we stopped doing it.
Man, you work your sphere. Here.
Yeah, you work.
You don't even know. You don't even know.
Then you get.
I love it.
Then you get busy, right?
Yeah.
Then you get, and then you're like in your inbox, and it's like, and we get really good about just pulling levers, boom, 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 get it happen. Or we got so busy we lost focus about the joy and updating them proactively and whatnot. So we just got pulled levers. Something went wrong. Our service level deteriorated, whatever. So now we're just in this reactive mode. Like, oh no, then we get in our own head, and it's actually this vicious cycle. We slid into what I call the reactive slope. And somebody said, you can't grow reactively. You have to be proactive. So I think sometimes it just comes down to habits, waking up every day with intention, keeping your sphere in front of you at all times, and having a system and process around what does this cadence of reaching out, touching, being proactive. We've just simply have slid. I don't optimize my sphere simply because I don't have a habit of optimizing my sphere. So it's this reactive slide. So that I would just end. You get the microphone to end this because
I think at the end of the day, what you're trying to say too is number one, a lot of people
the gear on your hat spun, like literally.
Oh my God, right?
Gear on your hat spun.
A lot of people mistake being busy for being productive, right? So if you feel like you're busy right now, don't do the lead generation things and see how busy you are in 90 days. And if you're busy in 90 days still, you're not closing deals. It's a sign of a bigger thing. And really, like I actually think that you think about the nice restaurant that you love to have, to where you go to celebrate special occasions. That restaurant's not also serving fast food. You cannot be in demand and on demand at the same time. So if you make the decision that you're going to be competing on value, that you're going to be an in-demand, high-end restaurant kind of person, you can't be the drive-through person at McDonald's and give the conveyor belt experience. You've got to commit to being that in-demand professional that people know you're going to compete on value. You're going to compete on delivering this excellence, and you got to let go of the other stuff, because you can't be answering online leads at 2:00 in the morning, or automating this thing and automating that thing, and still be the person who's delivering the 5-star Michelin rated restaurant experience.
You can't be in demand if you're on demand. So powerful. Hey, share this.
Yeah.
Share this with your team. Get subscribed to the channel. We don't take for granted that you're listening in, but somebody like you is looking for a resource like this. Somebody just got into real estate and they need Mike in their life. Somebody is looking to have some sales coaching in their group of loan officers and they need a Tim Hooper in their life. Share this with somebody you love. It is our joy to bring the trust factor to you, and it is our joy to have you in the group. So thank you guys for listening. Mike, enjoy your big conference, man. You're going to crush it. And and then
my biggest fear is I can't have diarrhea of the mouth. All right. So we'll see you next time on The Trust Factor. The Trust Factor podcast is available wherever you get your podcasts. You can even watch us on YouTube.
And subscribe to the channel so you can comment and drop your questions and share it with your team.